Otherwise, no one can see your faces.
Mhm.
So, hey, how you doing? Hi. Oh,
If you guys can hear me, I
and
don't know if there's any way you can adjust the camera, but right now, I can see, Dave and the top of Linda's head. But mostly what I see is way down the hall. I don't know if you can focus the
be Adrian.
camera
oh, no.
No, it's
lower,
not
so
listening to the
more
camera.
folks can be shown.
I don't know
Luckily,
if
Peter's tall.
I doubt it.
There you go. It's better.
That
Yes.
now I can see Linda, which is always nice, but
Oh.
no, that's going
It's not that
higher.
one, it's-
Yeah, this, a
Um,
lot of times they have like. a
that's back
voice
where it
thing
was.
Where they hear.
Oh,
voices.
right. Hello?
Can you
It may have a
focus it
limited.
down more or not?
Say we can just move the table down.
What did you say, Chuck?
Yeah, it's gone back to where it was originally. So, Chuck, I think you're just gonna have to put up with it, which, I'm out of the picture, so that's actually, that's a benefit.
That's good. We just.
But yeah, who's the most photogenic? They get this, oh, Sean, that's good. That's, you can just be centered.
Sorry, sir, that's me.
All right.
Hold on, wait a second. This is working.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. It's being 7 o'clock in a little bit. Third introduction, any public comments? Seeing none, move on. Did everyone get a chance to take a look at the minutes? Yep, Chuck.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the camera is still focused way back in the hall. It's not down
Yeah,
on the table.
Not much we can do about it. They moved it down and
Okay.
make a note to mention it to them.
Put like an angle on it, so it naturally tilts down.
Yeah, so it's looking at the table. Yeah. All right, so, May 21st meeting minutes, any comments on those?
I got some input. Let me see what I.
I think I had a minor edit too, that I don't think I sent along yet.
We had two.
Correct.
So one of them, it was Chuck Joseph's kid who does the things, not Chuck Dowchi's kid
Correct,
who does the musical
right.
constructions at Trails. That was one of them. That was in the early.
Right.
This one, I'm gonna share the screen to show the changes, but they're very well written. Let's see. I think Sean, you gave me changes too, so I'm just gonna share this so everyone. I think we're coming early enough to get everything set up. So the first. Little bit here. That we're talking about this Main Street. Typo vans, it's not rock, it's Stony Hill that Chuck hit. Health is a safe site distance, which I don't actually know what that means, but.
So you can see like the 300 feet. You
Right.
can See anything.
Ah,
We will go.
okay.
And then, the channel is man-made, that sentence?
Oh, is that new?
No, the channel is man-made and was cut to allow use of the area.
Another way for you. It was Scott who noted a call of butter has already asked about what's happening. I thought it was Sean. Name sounds alike. So approval of the plans, okay, work session on funds. We added, just to reiterate that we need approval by the end of June. I changed Marathon Museum to Marathon Center. CPA funds, I added the link to the spreadsheet because that wasn't there. And noted that Scott needs to update it. Here that Scott would make any needed corrections to the spreadsheet. I'm just gonna come back to that in a minute. That is what we're doing at the next meeting. So that's based on input from Peter, Scott, and Chuck, I think. One thing I will say is that Sean sent me sort of a summary of item D there. Item D, wait, of the whole budget thing, rather, B, item B. And I wrote back to him that I don't think I can include a summary unless we presented the summary at the meeting. Do you guys think that's true or not? Like I didn't, because we didn't discuss it as a summary.
True, but we can correct it now. But you're right, the minutes can only reflect what was said, not what was meant. And so if you are saying that that's what you said,
Oh, I literally said that.
then you can correct it. You can accept his changes.
You said the summary.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I'm gonna put those in, but do we want to conditionally approve these minutes?
Yes.
Knowing I'm gonna add that, I can't do it live here.
Sure.
Okay, so it's just basically summarizes all the budget stuff.
Yeah. If,
Okay,
you said.
Yeah, so you've got it as basically a Word attachment.
No,
sent it to me in an email.
So she
Okay.
can make the corrections.
Yeah, I mean, I could do it here, but it'll take 5 minutes.
I agree, yeah.
So I make a motion to approve minutes, including Scott's corrections.
Sean's.
Oh,
It is my middle name, for what it's worth.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second to that? Do we hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. It carries. June 4th meeting minutes.
David, did you second that? I'm sorry.
No,
No, that,
Sean,
Sean.
Scott.
John Scott
Yes,
Kimball.
person, yeah.
We should start using that just to really confuse things.
Okay, and I did just type Scott instead of Sean. Okay, so good with minutes. And and the May 21st one, I think there was only one change, maybe? That was the Chuck thing.
Oh, this was the,
That was the June 4th. I can go back to the May 21st one.
okay, let's do the May 21st one then, yeah.
This internet is like, who pays for this because they shouldn't, it's so slow.
Wonder where the tower is.
Actually not seeing any changes in here.
Okay,
Maybe the only one was the changing Chuck Joseph. Oh, here it is. Yeah, Chuck, doubt she did Chuck Joseph.
okay.
That was it.
All right, anyone else have any?
I
Okay.
make a motion to accept the minutes
Second.
with the changes that Linda pointed out.
Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right, good. Moving on. project updates. Meeting with DCR, Jack, you want to just,
Yeah, I went down and I talked to Rich, who's the park supervisor, about working on some bridges. I mean, he's fine with it. He was gonna pass it along to the DCR Trails people who have to begin a project. I think what we need to do is,
So he's fine with us working up. Can you just say what?
no, he's sitting down and starting a conversation about putting a bridge.
So
in.
who's Rich with?
Huh?
Who- I
DCR.
know he's with DCR, but what department?
He's the park supervisor.
Okay, thank
Do you
you.
know his last name by any chance?
Yeah, Trippiano.
Thank you.
That was good,
What?
getting the name.
Oh, no, my daughter worked there. I've known him for years. No, he was very, very, amenable to working with us on doing it, but I think what it means is we have to do a couple. One, we have to decide we'll do one, the town's fine with spending money on DCR land, because you mentioned. So we need to, before we meet with them, we need to clarify that, and then I think we also have to make a decision about how much money we're gonna commit to.
Mhm.
Because I think if we go and sit with DCR, we need to be able to say the town is fine spending their money and this is how much we want to spend, we will spend up to.
Right.
So we need to do that before we meet with them.
Which means we need to have people go out, take a look at the crossings and
Yeah,
figure out what's gonna take.
so a site walk.
I mean, it's really kind of I think when you think about it, it's kind of a future investment
Mhm.
to open that whole stretch up there.
So where is this property again we're talking about?
Well, if you go from the park headwaters, there's a trail that goes to the duck pond.
Mhm.
You come to I think it's a telephone easement that goes right in left.
Called Power Line Trail.
Yeah, if you go left, headed south, you're gonna come to two stream crossings. And after you get over those, you have a path all the way to the gas easement. Hopefully, is it a mile, maybe more?
It's close to a mile.
Yeah.
I think, because one of my runs going from my house all the way to there, it's about a mile. And so cut off, it's probably 7/10 of a mile, something like that.
Right, but what it would do is it would open up another way to get down into the park. Also get to, you could go theoretically from maybe the cemetery or one of those streets there and go all the way to Duck Pond. It's just
Saddle Hill to.
Saddle Hill.
It would open up the whole western part of.
Right, and it opens,
We've been talking about
Yeah.
years.
it opens the western part of
And then I
the
think
DCR land. So
there just,
Yeah.
it would require two bridges.
Okay.
So we need to, I guess, so where are we with Elaine? Is she okay with this?
she said, they would consider it. It's the sort of thing that I think she would prefer it comes out of CPA funds, because she said private can always, private entities can always go for CPA funds. And so we just have to keep pushing it and get to
Go
do
through
that.
the
We're gonna get,
process.
I
right.
mean, so I think Rich is ready and willing to initiate a conversation,
Mhm.
get their trail people involved. They would do the permitting, he said. To
Oh,
on their land.
That's helpful.
Right.
So what we would do would be the materials and whatever we have
Whatever
to,
cost.
the cost.
Right, and then, figure out I'm sure they have some standards for what bridges they need.
Right. But I think to me, if the town isn't willing to do it, it raises a larger question because it really does open up a lot of potential.
Yeah, is this the one that, I'm looking at my map right here, it goes south right to where the cemetery is.
Yeah.
Kind of goes through that wetlands area.
Yeah,
Cemetery, you guys.
St. John's.
Yeah, actually both St. John
Right.
and.
If you went to the cemetery and you went out to the power line, you would have to take a left.
yeah,
To
you
get
find, there is a trail that goes
There's a
down.
side trail. Actually, there's two trails that go, there's There's one on the high side that goes down and there's one on the low side that goes down. There's two. So you would open up really
A lot.
a lot of potential.
Is it passable now or is it just completely too wet?
That's not passable because they're two stream crossings.
Yeah.
I've ridden the bike through them. But
it's not-
But it's
not great.
It's not great.
Okay.
Well, I think there really was too. The rest of it's pretty high and dry.
There's some, as
Some wet areas, but,
you get to the north of that, sometimes it gets pretty
but anyway,
fun.
but it would just, I mean, we're not actually developing a point-to-point trail. But I think what we're doing is
How you doing?
we're opening up a new thing using the state park land.
I just want to also point out that we're going to talk about priorities tonight, so we should see where this fits on that.
Right.
So does that, wait, talking about the sidewalk, was it?
That's a little-
Okay.
Okay,
Can I just ask one more question? What do we need to do to clarify whether the town is willing to actually do it? Because we gotta knock these things down.
it'd probably be, good for you and I to sit down with Elaine again
Okay.
and just say, hey, the state's interested. What is the best way to proceed with this?
I think it's also valuable if the committee could go out there and do a sidewalk and then come up with a collective decision. But yes, this is what the committee would like to do. That would show.
Right. But I think, the,
Whenever you wanted to have that
Yeah.
conversation,
Yeah.
just let me know.
I do have a question regarding, well, maybe we're gonna cover it later, about the Berry Acres bridges that we funded last meeting.
yeah,
Well, not Berry Acres, the stuff by, the gun pump.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it goes from recreation to Fruit Street.
Right, doesn't that cross DCR property?
Yes.
Right, so don't we need to talk to DCR about that bridge?
The bridge is not, the bridge is 100% town land.
Okay,
No, but the trail. Loop Road to Chamberlain Trail, that's what these plans are. We finally have them in. Chuck's got the notice of intent in pretty good draft form, I presume. And, then, so that's the next step is going to Conservation Commission, setting that up. And using these as the basis for a bid package to go out to bid, and the work will be somewhere in probably 75K, 100K range, so it's gonna have to go through the state procurement process.
That's just to add stone dust to the existing trail.
It's, yeah, but it's a little more expensive than that.
You have to.
Can you say here the bid for the?
And there's one bridge crossing, which is fairly significant.
Yeah, the bridge crossing is actually volunteer work, so, but although the construction is likely volunteer, although we do have money, and I'm considering we're doing all this additional bridge work, it might make sense to have that one
We
done.
haven't seen the scope of work on this piece.
Correct.
So that will become.
His hand raised.
Yes, Chuck?
Just regarding the bridge crossing for the Chamberlain Loop Road connection. I think that's a lot more sophisticated than what our volunteer groups have done. If we could find an experienced builder who could guide us, we could probably do it. But I think it is something that, it requires lamination, nail lamination or screw lamination of, 24-foot 2x12s or 2x10s. I think it's 2x12s. It's certainly more sophisticated than our volunteers have done. So if we can budget for either a contractor or somebody to supervise our volunteers. I think that would be wise.
Yeah, well, I think we have a lot of bridge projects in the works right now. And I think
Right.
this one being needing more professionals, probably good to just get it done.
Right.
Yes,
Yep.
So a question for you or Chuck. So would that identify the costs for what Chuck is talking about through a scope of work or engineering processes, or how would those costs be identified?
that would be pulled out and just get a separate bid from constructor. That one may be under 10,000, so yeah, the bridge part.
Yeah.
just break it out.
I know, but he's talking about the whole project. Wouldn't that also be included?
Well, you
From
do
A
all
to B.
the
Yeah,
with one bid, and then the bridge would be a separate bid. One would probably,
Maybe it's a large, it's large. It's state approval.
yeah.
you've got, well, it's not state approval, you have to go through a state procurement process, and there's certain threshold. If it's $1 million project, there's certain ways it has to be
Yeah, but-
bid, it's under.
You have to make sure you have certain.
Yep, I got it. I just stated, I thought you said state approval and within words.
Having said that, there are ways to break it out. I mean, Center Trail was 120,000 all told, and I had really two contractors who did that work. Broke it into separate pieces, and you can phase it if you're not doing it to give the same person projects. If you're doing it because it's more economical, you can't phase it, so. Anyway, using your own risk sign, Elaine.
Just to clarify though, that on the budget that Scott prepared, which we have 103 left on the CPA funding, that's this project here that we're talking about.
Right.
And because it's greater than 75 grand, we need to go through the state procurement process.
Correct.
And in that 103, we're also including the cost of the bridge or no?
No, it would be, would be in the bridge, would be in the 103 would include the bridge.
The 103 includes the bridge.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's quiet when that thing shuts off.
That thing is annoying.
You don't realize how annoying until it shuts off and you go, oh, that's nice.
I like it here.
Using
So
your-
can we just clarify what the next steps are on that?
the next steps are the notice of intent. And then putting the bid package together, and with the bid, with the bridge as sort of a separate scope of work, that may just be a contract. I'll have a couple people take a look at it. Get a rough idea of cost.
Do you have to have 2 or 3?
If it's under 10, you can just do it. If it's over whatever the threshold is, if it's over 10, I think 10 to 25 and 25 to 100, and I
Yeah.
think we're in the 25 to
Varies.
100 range. Then it just has to go into the state procurement. It's an online system, so anyone can bid on it in theory. The problem you can get into is you get somebody hiring or using the to fill in place for their low end folks and not giving you the detail you need. Because these are a little different than sort of standard road project where it's been,
Right,
you know,
that's where the scope of work is.
Yeah, the
comes in
statement
handy.
of work talks about, can it say experience doing stone dust trails?
No, but you have to be clear on what you want.
yeah.
Okay, and can that criteria be considered in picking, or do you have to go with the lowest bidder?
You have to go with a low bid, but you have, like, that's where you need to figure out. That's what I'm,
You can
Wrestling.
really have to go with the lowest. There's some flexibility
yeah, there's a process.
because, yeah, you're right, there's a process.
And basically,
Because you can work with the scope of work
Yeah.
and say, okay, can you do this? No, well, I really can't, but
Yeah.
these people can.
comes to sort of, yeah, if they've got to hire multiple people to do it and subs to do the work.
So just to clarify then, if a project is 10 to 25, you don't go to the state procurement.
10 to 25 is still, anything above 10.
Yeah.
Is state, there's different state procurement steps. It just, you know, some have to have 3 bids, one just needs to be listed on the registry, and I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know, but there's a whole sheet the state has, but here's are the procurement.
But there's
procedures.
Right, but the 10 to 25 is a tier, and then 25 to 100 is a tier
Yes,
through the state procurement process. If it's less than 10, we don't need it.
correct.
Thank you.
Chuck Scott is.
Yep,
Again, my hearing is such, I'm not sure I got everything, but, the, if the bridge, project itself were a separate contract, and the town purchased the materials, could we contract then, separately for the assembly, essentially the construction of the bridge using town purchased materials? And would that help in terms of simplifying the contracting procedure?
yep, that's what we're,
Okay,
friend. All right, the using your own risk sign, is there any further questions on this?
No.
Using your own risk sign, the town said, good idea, so you take a look and see what's out there. I still need, as
I
one,
sent a draft of it
did you?
to you and Rashid.
Okay,
I could bring that up online if you want to show everyone. It basically said, use the equipment at your own risk, and it, I can try to find it. It'll take a minute. And it said, if there are maintenance issues, report them to, and I had a TBD because I don't know who we report them to. And then the third part was equipment installed as part of each Eagle Scout, whatever his last name is, Troop, I think 4. So I could try to bring it up and then we could,
do we,
and we need a size, how big we want it to be. Do you want me to look for it quick?
I'd rather just see it like in the email.
yeah, just shoot it in an email,
Okay.
yeah. Good idea.
So then we'll just wait till next meeting
Right.
to approve it.
Something similar to what's inside, an 8x12 or something like that.
Updates on any other projects? Folks can think of? One I have that I was thinking of, it was running by it the other day. Is the Emerald Drive development, new development off of Hayden Row down almost to College. As recall, that was going to have a 10-foot wide sidewalk, and that got shifted to 3 easements. 3 of the properties have easements on the back of them to allow the existing trail essentially to stay. They're on private property.
Who holds the easement?
The town, I think the town open space will probably hold the easement to it. But having said that, it is trail related. I have not checked on plans, or more importantly, on the deeds to see if those have been filed with the easements in there. So anyone familiar with going through the South Middlesex Registry, looking at deeds to figure out whether the easements are on there?
It usually takes, more than several months to be registered.
Do you have to
Does
request
it-
it? Do you have to
No,
request?
the town, the developer files it with the town, and the town is
Well,
often very quick. in
okay.
Submitting it to the state.
What I'm looking for is someone to kind of track that, because again, the easements probably went on a while ago, so they may actually show up in the registry. But I just wanted in light of the discussion from last meeting that I'm piling too much stuff on myself. I'm trying to dump this on somebody else. So anyone
So why is it
familiar
important to know that? Because we know it's going to happen if it hasn't already happened.
There's been plenty of those that have fallen through the cracks over the years. We were talking about one property at a recent meeting with Sudbury Valley trustees when they came in about this fairly large property over near Route 85, Cedar Street, going all the way up to the Emerald Hills development up in there, that if you look at the town planning board document, it says, you know, like 70 acres to be donated to the Hocking Area Land Trust. It never happened. There's more of those around. Used to live over on Spring Street, and there's trails that go down to the lake, and I don't think they ever showed up on the deed as being town land. I want to make sure that we're on top of it, and make sure that stuff doesn't fall through the cracks. And this is exactly the kind of thing that's really easy to fall through the cracks. So
What does it take to look into that?
what it takes is you have to look at the town website and figure out what the properties are. And in those, they'll have, if you go to the property lookup, it'll give you the book and page number at the registry. Then you go to the South Middlesex Registry and do the search function, search criteria, book and page, and pull that up and then read through the deed. See if the easement's recorded there.
So I want to flip back to planning board because it's in the plans. So they can't clear out of that project till those qualifications have been met. So they need to follow through with that. So that may take quite some time. So as long as the language is in the planning board documents, I think we're okay.
Having
It's like
said
we
that,
want
I
to
still think it'd be nice for us to be double checked.
Yes, I think it's way too soon.
Where are the trail names on Chamberlain Extension?
I don't think that the property that state would identify trail names.
Yeah.
They,
No, but the planning board checklist says names will be in there, and they're not, so
They
let's
wind
just
up,
check.
like, it becomes more important if there's a future conveyance.
and
Yes, then if someone, the conveyance attorney is gonna tell a buyer, you have an easement in your backyard.
yeah,
If it's not there, then what happens is, say, what are you doing walking through my backyard?
well,
Right.
I can tell you, open space is very, very active and aggressive about going back years and years and years. And making sure if it's in planning board language, they will go after people who are encroached, even though it might not be. It's been surveyed. sort of back to planning board, right?
The interim steps, could you go back to development?
That's what,
Well, they won't get their money back.
technically they won't, but if it slides through, if nobody's paying, my point is that nobody's paying
Yeah.
attention to this stuff, and it hasn't, we have a history of not paying attention
No,
to
I
it. So
understand.
let's pay attention to it.
It's just, it may,
It's easy.
you can confirm that, the nations have submitted paperwork. That step is done.
Yeah.
If they haven't done that, then it doesn't make any sense to check the registry down. If they have submitted it, and Chris or.
There. Checking the registry is,
Peanuts.
10 minutes. Doesn't cost
If
anything.
it's been filed.
If it's been filed.
But the history is it could take up to 2 years. And I'm just thinking that.
First I would say, hey, nations need you filed.
Well, you check the registry. If it's not in there, then you make that phone call to Chris and say, hey. Yeah. All righty.
So is anybody volunteering to do that?
I wouldn't mind calling, Chris Major, find out if he's followed through with that, if that is in process.
Okay. Yeah, just check on the, status of the meetings. Appreciate it.
You want to just look at the sign clip? Because if we can just figure out who to email it to, we could proceed.
I think as long as PBD takes care of it, we're good, right?
Is it your own risk?
I think you'll have trouble fitting in a real address in those
Sure, make
states.
that part smaller.
Yeah,
Because what, we just, who would we report this to?
Oh, the who factor, BPW?
First, yes.
Yeah, one of those, BPW.
So should we ask DPW first?
Yeah.
Is this the, property on, it's school property or is it town? Okay.
Just wondering, because it's pretty wordy, having the fact that the Eagle Scout have his name on there, maybe
Yeah.
actually have that on a separate,
Yes, I think so.
you know?
Can I ask why? Because I don't like lots.
Because if somebody doesn't fall break your arm, you don't want them going after
Oh,
a cheat.
oh,
And typically Eagle Scouts have had their own sort of separate,
Yeah, so I think we should
I was
take
just
that.
trying to think
Yeah,
of
there's
the
the
number
two.
of signs. Okay.
yeah,
I would just take that out.
So who does the Eagle Scout sign? And do they do it?
usually they do it.
Okay.
Yeah, if they want to do something, you could probably do it.
Yeah, but, less words on the sign make the impact of the sign.
What would we take out?
Project.
Yeah.
And report issues to Hopkins and
Will
DPW.
be on the same as the user your own reps. Yeah, let's two together.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what Holliston has on theirs.
Is what,
That, those three.
to the top two?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all we want.
So I'll let Rashid know he should make his own sign
I'm not sure you would want to.
and I'll ask W about.
Who's the point of contact should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Holliston side is friends of Holliston Trail, but we don't have
We don't have-
friends
yeah.
of, so.
Whatever.
Okay. Update and actions by other boards, committees and trail center groups. Trails Club. Working with us on the
Our yard sign. We have 6 of them.
July 19th. They're gonna be put up, those are gonna be put up around the road.
Already accepted.
Oh, okay, so that's the one.
One that'll go in the common next month.
Right? Anything further on that, Linda?
Nope, stay tuned, come.
Yep.
You know, tell everyone to come, it'll be fun.
Scott can be involved. For the old TCMC, he was working on putting together kind of the children's play area
Hmm.
piece. So he's gonna have the signage that he had for that showing, kind of what he envisioned for that. So
We'll have a
these are,
10, go ahead.
I was gonna say, these are older, some of the Audubons have these kind of things where kids go and climb on the logs and have a wee of a time.
Did I read somewhere that there's going to be snacks or something?
Yeah, so but there's gonna be a tent, it's 3 hours. There will be guided walks, short guided walks. There will be a couple of learn to use your GPS app sessions. There will be scavenger hunts for kids, and then we're gonna have a little bag that has fruit snacks, water, and some insect repellent wipes. Organic for.
Yeah.
Alt is coming, and I don't know if we've invited anyone else yet, but other people might come who are trails related.
Alrighty, moving on, item 4, neighbors notices. This is the fun part. All right, if folks get a chance to look through the multiple versions and let's start with the procedures first. Linda updated what TCMC had previously added some items to it.
And then you updated it some more, right? And Scott give you comments.
Yeah.
I think this one is the latest showing all the changes. Give me a second, to make sure before I share. Not seeing changes, so. Oh yeah, there they're shown. Wow, this internet is the slowest I have. Experienced this century. Seriously.
Remember when we had dial-up and the speeds were like 18K, and then your friends would get you that 1 million byte thing and it would crash, then you could never get it. Yeah, but it would lock everything up for half an hour while it tried to get it for you.
Hey, I knew somebody who had a laptop that you stuck a phone into. Okay. So you can see in pink the comments that we've gotten so far. And maybe the best thing to do is just go through like section by section, if people can read. I'm sure we're good with the changes.
Okay, first section, is anyone, any additional comments to what's in there? Or like it, want that changed? Thought it was important to add in hand amenities because two isn't just the trail. Yep.
The only thing about the identification of most relevant neighbors. Is we talked about who are impacted.
Sorry, where are you reading? I'm in the first section.
So am I.
Where does it say relevant neighbors?
D, as in David.
Oh, down there. Okay, uh-huh.
Okay.
And so we have spoken about, you know, when we talked about abutters notices and we said, no, we're not using that term. And then we talked about, well, who are the right people that we should be contact, right? And so I think not necessarily they may or may not be neighbors. So that's my flag.
So we'll
Oh, so
suggest,
just,
Neighbors and others.
Identification of most relevant, you know,
public,
impacted individuals or users or just neighbors implies
you're
that
saying more broader,
a more broad term.
yeah,
Correct.
more broad term.
Could we say?
The only trouble with that is that raises the question of what does the word relevant mean?
Yeah, right.
I know, but I mean, this isn't a legal document. This is a process to help us do the right
How
thing.
about interested persons?
tips.
Yeah, because
potentially
anyone
interested
could be
persons.
interested to Lynn's point. And do we even need to say that?
Well, what's the purpose of it then? You say,
Right.
Just think about it. But I think, I agree, let's change it from neighbors, but I
Okay.
think it should be in here to get us to think about it, that's all.
to get us to think about what?
How are we gonna
Then-
identify?
Who is most
So then we say that.
Identification of potentially interested public.
We'll
Yeah,
say
I
the word
know.
impact. Lynn said impact, right?
Yeah,
I guess I'm,
Having impact.
now I'm hung up on the word identify, because how are we going to actually identify them?
That's what we have to.
By thinking, you know, this isn't a formula.
No, we're just looking for words at this point.
Chuck.
That goes as if.
Chuck? Chuck?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm back on C, the idea of two route proposals. Having been involved in environmental assessments where alternatives were to be proposed, too often those come up as just straw people. I think the best bet is for the committee to propose what they feel is the optimum right off the bat with rationale, and then be ready to address questions from the abutters or concerned citizens as to why they felt that's the best, and be willing to make adjustments. But I think, you know, frankly, it's added work and maybe unnecessary to do a straw person and then show that on a map. And then have to come back and make changes anyway. I don't know,
So,
just
my
my thought.
what I'm thinking, what I'm get from that, Chuck, is maybe map proposed for trail and then in parens, consider alternatives if reasonable. If really, this is kind of a working document, then I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Consider alternatives if reasonable, says, hey, if there's some alternatives out there, let's at least have thought about it when we go to the public meeting.
Yeah, but not lock yourself to two proposals.
So
Yeah.
I agree with that. So D, back to D.
I would just take out most relevant, identify neighbors.
Oh,
Because-
just like neighbors, how about,
Interested.
I know, but that opens it up to the world.
so what? We, again, put our
I know,
brains
but-
here and we say, who would care? This isn't a formula. It's like, who would care? Oh, the neighbors would care, but so might so-and-so because of whatever reason. So it's just remembering to think beyond threats of others.
Identification of.
Interested parties. That one for you? You're the
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
And remember, this all came from Jamie from years ago, so we're updating something that's none of us have really given inputs on that, so it's good we're talking about.
Yep.
Anything else on number one there? Or-
Two. I just took out some of the other named parties because we're just giving examples.
Yeah, no, I.
So we didn't
right.
need everybody. in it.
I like having them there for though, I thought you did it on purpose, but I liked having them there so that we remember.
I think we will remember, I mean, the idea is e.g. these
Yes.
four examples,
I know,
right, but we're probably gonna leave other people too, and we don't want this to become a checklist of these are the only people who consider.
I think the word mother.
Going on?
the rest of two is just like.
Yep.
Three,
Should have the same language in it, three that we have involved.
with the interested parties, good point. Yeah. The neighbors. I'll do a search.
We've actually got it in three up above, reach
Yeah.
out to neighbors and other.
Section heading.
I don't know if this is appropriate, but I think, doors.
But we don't need to have it listed, it just says other names. The other appropriate names. It's not on your page, it's up here. Kim.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Just again, because we don't have to list every.
Yeah, I moved, that's why, like, that is typically by.
The needs works great.
I tried running through and how many are done and which ones are done which ways and.
Okay, if nothing else on three, we'll go to
Yep.
four. The grammatical thing, yeah.
Got neighbors.
You got
Oh,
neighbors.
yeah, yeah. I'll do, yeah.
Yeah, I probably just do a search. Doc,
Are you defining interested parties?
No,
no. Intentionally.
Okay. Um,
a thought on it though.
Yeah, and so you are avoiding defining a specific distance or abutters or whatever.
Correct.
Okay, well,
And
Um,
again, some of it will come down, as you know, from past, it comes down to sort of a case by case basis. And a lot of the cases, most of the cases, it's simply going to be neighbors. But every once in a while, it's going to
Yep.
be broader than.
yeah, other, peripheral, those that have some other ownership interest or whatever. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Nothing else on 4, we'll go to 5.
Yep. I do think somewhere early on, we should mention that interested parties definitely includes neighbors. I don't think we want to have a trail going in someplace and say, oh, who's interested in, does that interested party, does that mean trail centric folks? No, it means,
How about this first paragraph, if you look up? Says the purpose is to ensure transparency in the process so that trail advocates, other interested parties, and in particular neighbors.
yes,
That covers what.
that covers it, exactly. Yes,
And
it
it
does.
doesn't conflict with anything down below.
Just thinking ahead.
Okay, anything else on 5?
Good. Okay. With those changes and with Linda's global search for neighbors changing to interested parties. So I have a motion to accept that as our procedures for dealing with the public.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
We have
Carries.
someone's motion it and all that.
We did.
Oh.
Jane, Fran,
Fran.
Gene.
Sorry.
okay. Template, next one up.
I make it look easy, but it's not easy to necessarily capture all this as we go. Sorry.
We know. Thank you for the caption. Yeah, you don't see anyone else raising their hand to do it.
No, you're a miracle worker.
Yeah. Very much appreciated.
Okay, I'm sorry, we're going on template for notices. Let me get that up.
Yep.
Okay, and Scott's the only one who sent feedback to me on this. Does anybody else think they had feedback to me? I'm not even seeing Scott's here. Oh,
I had feedback, but I'm not sure I sent it to you.
just see that.
That work kept interfering. Trying to review this stuff.
Mike keeps interfering, sir. Bobby.
Yeah, I don't know why Scott's comments aren't here. First, let me share it. So I put them in today. Oh, you know what it is? This thing is so slow, it loads the comments later. Seriously, now they're gonna be there. Okay, let me make that bigger.
As a sidebar, while we're waiting to get this up, I don't know if any of you went to Chuck, I don't think anyone went to Chuck Joseph's talk. But one of the interesting things was for all the town records, which were all done longhand and cursive. That's been a really good use of AI because AI can interpret that and turn it into something.
Really?
If you've ever had to read old deeds and
Yeah.
try to, the languages, heretofore and all that sort of stuff. AI can turn it into,
Was that record? Did HCAM record that?
They usually.
I think
do.
they did.
I've gone back.
I think they
and-
did. Yeah.
It's just tough.
That piece was interesting. Anyway,
All right, same thing, go through section by section.
yep.
Okay. Any comments on the heading?
Nope.
Your interested party. To do that. Did we change?
We could do friends.
I would do, I would do / interested party because in most cases, it's going to be neighbors. For whatever the project is.
How about we say or other interested party? I don't like using / because it's not clear what it means.
Okay. That's fine. I was thinking you do one to the neighbors and then you change it for the interested parties if there are others, but this is fine. This is fine.
Oh, okay, so they're separate ones that would,
No,
I would
Too much
recommend
work.
that.
yeah, too much
Yeah.
work, yeah.
Okay. So that's a no.
just find the way it is.
I'm just gonna put these changes in suggest mode so we have a record of what we changed. Okay, so that one later, because this is getting pretty, okay. First paragraph,
I would,
Scott suggested adding that last sentence. That was one of his suggestions.
take out planning and constructing because planning and constructing equals developing.
But I just got this from our charter. It's our exact words in our charter, but that's fine.
Yep. And okay, and I would say in enhancing the use of or enhancing use of trails in,
Or just enhancing trails throughout Hopkinton.
yeah, that's fine. Yep,
Okay, these are all in our charge, so
yeah, I know.
that's something else. Okay, anything else on paragraph 1?
Nope.
Paragraph, let's go the next 3 in a row, 2, 3, and 4. Your scope of work.
Instead of rough start date, how about approximate?
Yeah, that was meant to be filled in.
Oh, okay.
Like anything in red, you have to fill in for the specific project. But you know what, we could put, we didn't mean a date, we meant a period of time, like spring, summer. But we could put that in here, that would approximate. And I could change date to season.
If that's that's what we're looking.
That's what we said last time. I
Yeah,
don't,
we.
was it you who said that or Scott?
So.
Somebody did. You have that. Okay. Anything else in those 3?
Nope.
Okay, then we go on to anything on that paragraph? Mostly you just fill it in.
Yeah.
The next paragraph, attached documents and illustrations. I think we should give a little guidance on what should be included and how it should be labeled, because for the 3 we've just gotten, they're like kind of all over the place. Not bad, just different. And like, I think you should definitely have a map that shows the nearest street names and house numbers, so people know where you're.
I think that's
Yeah.
important too.
Mhm.
Other than that, I don't know what else I would say. That's the main thing, just the streets and,
I think it's just important Remember that it's going to be flexible.
Yeah.
With each project, because each project is going to be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like for the parking area at Ash Street, having that picture
Yeah.
gave you a lot about what's going on there, whereas for the Koala, one picture somewhere along isn't gonna be particularly useful.
Well, the other thing is that the maps should have legends on them or something.
Where possible, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what's the proposed versus the current?
I've been doing a little math on the Access GIS, the town's website. Trouble I had was that you can draw easily. And then how do you stop? You click on it. You know,
Keep it out.
and there's like, I'm in control, hitting escape kills the whole thing. Double clicking. It's like, and I had to Google it like multiple times before I finally found it, double clicking. It's like, but I drew that map like 6 times before I figured double clicking.
Very first.
It's like, why don't you have that in there?
I'm not that I'm averse to legends, because I'm not, but I think if you can do it without legends and still get the point across.
This has been,
How about label?
Label or just, I'm
I mean,
thinking,
like proposed versus current is really important, like
Yeah.
all went to school.
but I wouldn't put that in a legend. I would just kind of just say,
Right, right.
you know,
Just
colorful,
labeling.
like,
Yeah.
just labeling it. I think the mindset of somebody spending less than 5 minutes on this should be the mindset,
Yeah,
right? And so it just
just the real legend.
short and sweet, the verbiage short and sweet, the picture, look at it, you can understand it like that. I get it, boom.
To that point, one of the, like funding, does funding really matter to?
Not particularly passionate.
No.
Unless somebody says to me, you're gonna have to pay for it.
See, that's the
Right,
part.
but if you're the neighbor and you're, what do I need to worry about here?
but we're going to go out afterward and speak to them, so that
Exactly.
might come up with it. So
It might
not
come up, but do we need to have it in the letter that goes to them? I think that,
One of these did
Giving
have
us the-
CPC in it, CPA in it, and I thought it was good because I would ask that question right off the bat. So if everybody would ask it, why not include it? But
Because not everyone's going to ask it, and they always have the contact information.
yeah, and I think it gets to Sean. What I get with Sean's point, and I agree with, is you're gonna get people, if they get 6 pages or 2 pages,
They're not going to read
they're
it.
not even gonna read it. What you want is to make sure they.
you're right, Peter, but the ones we did, with the exception of the attachments, all covered all this stuff and they were all under a page. So including it, all this stuff didn't add anything.
But still, less is better, I think.
I don't agree, because like I would immediately, my first question would be, where is this money coming from for this project? Because if you're gonna tell me it's $100,000, then like, that's a waste of money. You know, or something like that, I don't know. I just kind of want to know.
But I'd wanna be in direct contact with the person that,
Correct, see.
I don't wanna be dropping some number in here, that then they go, oh, that's a crazy number, without any idea of what it means.
Not to mention the fact that, like, in the case of the Chamberlain, money's already been pre-approved and
See,
allocated.
that's what I want to know. The money's been pre-approved and allocated, so I don't have to worry about it. We just, so, I think you can ask for a number. I just want to know where the money's coming from and if it's been approved.
So with that
Otherwise,
question, trigger you to them at the end where it says contact Peter for further question. With that question, spur you.
I'd probably go to the interested parties meeting and ask it there.
Okay,
But I guess the point is if everybody's always gonna ask that question, just put it in.
yeah, but I don't think they will. I
don't know.
it just as an introductory thing coming, we're gonna talk about
There's
it.
everything in here.
Straw poll, who thinks funding needs to be in there? Who thinks it's, who thinks it's best left out? Oh,
What's
it
that?
stays in.
If, I don't know if
Stays
that's
in,
gonna be one
that's fine.
sentence. Oh, what else is there?
Yeah.
Are we gonna try and keep this to one page? I think
At
that,
least one page for,
oh, okay.
for
Yeah.
example.
Well, I mean, if a lot of people think it's, ought to be in there, good.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
On this next one. About
I thought this was all fine with all this.
Well, can I ask you a question? If it is expected the project will have summary of the impacts of the completed project. I mean,
What's the result of the project? Why are we doing it?
but doesn't say result, it says impact. So that implies there's some.
Well, so the stuff in,
Negative, some,
no, the stuff in red is just what is work, is just guide us to think about putting something in. You don't have to use the word impact when you write it.
So for example, it is expected that the Ash Street will allow
Okay.
more ready access to the trail.
Right.
So it just,
if you want.
No, it's, I see your. And, I mean, we can change the word impact so
You're
people.
reading it that way, somebody else.
Yeah, well, so but this is,
Well, this isn't to be read though.
Right.
Everything in red is that's not gonna be
well, let's
read.
put a different word in so people don't use that word if you want.
Effect maybe?
Oh, you're right. Something neutral.
You know, this is gonna be available to people to read. The red in the book.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. this is
Yeah,
our-
okay.
no, this is our template for when we're
The red.
Okay.
doing a location
Right,
specific one.
yes,
So,
it is a little confusing.
So you just replace, when you're writing up your, one of these for a project, you're gonna replace the red. We can put that at the top. Replace the red with,
Right.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Just put directions in. That's,
labels. Okay. Good point. All right. Other town entities could be optional. And either Scott or I added the word any in front of concerns because there might not be any. Any other comments on that page?
nope,
Okay, and then,
take out we expect the work will add value to your neighborhood. Always one of those, to me, it becomes a hot button.
so
You're telling me
yeah, there's.
that
gonna
this
be-
thing I don't want is adding value, but yeah,
I think,
read between the lines.
yeah, more importantly, we just want to project it as being positive,
Yes, and I
without
think this gives the
implying-
option, yeah.
negative or positive, just to,
so we don't want to say anything like that, just get rid of that whole last sentence.
yeah.
Okay, and then Scott had a comment here which said, I'm gonna paraphrase. He said, like, would we end this with the Trails Committee? I said, maybe would it be on town stationery? Should we add a link to our webpage? Was his question or something, like, we do have a header. But he just wondered if there should be some ending to it, like sincerely the Trails Committee or something. I didn't think it was necessary, but he brought it up, so I'm sharing his comment.
Okay.
Does anybody want to add that?
I think the header is fine.
I agree.
Okay. All right.
Chuck, do you have your hand up?
It's a mute button.
Chuck, you're on mute.
Yeah.
Chuck, you're on mute.
That's okay, I'll keep going anyway.
That the imprimatur
on
of the,
mute. Can you start over? You've been on mute.
okay, scratch my comment, probably irrelevant now.
Okay, that was easy. All righty.
It was.
So with those changes, I'm looking for a motion to accept the template.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Two down. Now the hard ones, the real ones.
Good jobs.
Ashley. Medical order.
This is the one. All red. That's a great one. All right, everybody wait for a minute while decides to.
As a note on this, I did reach out, according to Elaine, we can make an official change of the address to 99 Ash Street for the town property through the building inspector. So I reached out to the building inspector today and said, can you make that change? So,
Changing the address of a property?
yes. The neighbors at 101 Ash Street were concerned that the trail said near 101 Ash Street.
Yeah.
So we changed it on the map to 99 Ash Street. So now now we're officially changing what is now listed as 0 Ash Street. To 99 Ash. Those 0 Ash Street type addresses always were problematic for me anyway. So personal pet peeve. So I'm happy to have that change. And we got 97, 101, and one property in between. That would be gotta be 99.
Okay, I'm not sure anyone sent changes on this, did they?
I did not, but I did.
Okay. So let me make it bigger and I guess we can walk through again. Feedback.
Right, so the planning constructing. Out and then. We want to just say maintaining and enhancing trails. Road Hopkinton,
Okay.
I had put in maintaining and enhancing public use of the trails and trail networks.
We already did this on the template. though.
Right, but I think, and I agree, we go with each other, but keep it short.
And we're gonna change this to and other interested parties, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Paragraph 2,
Since easterly into land owned by the town of Hopkinton, Sudbury Valley trustee has CR, they not own it.
sorry, what?
So right here, Sudbury Valley trustees comes out, the land owned by the town of Hopkinton.
I just have a CR.
Somebody must have. Somebody gave me that change, because I put it in from someone, but that's okay. All right,
And town should be capitalized soon.
anything else on that paragraph?
Nope.
I'm really happy that it has funding mentioned in that paragraph.
There, but not further. Anyway. So next paragraph.
Why is it being moved slightly north? I did get comments on this, why aren't they here? What's the reason the spot was being moved slightly north?
So for that sentence, based on neighbors' comments, the location of the area would be moved slightly north.
Okay.
Close to the trailhead.
That's a good add.
And the reason why it's not north now is because there's a tree in the way.
Okay. Thank you. Do we want to add where the tree used to be or just let it go?
I wouldn't add it.
Okay. Anything else in there?
Remove 3. I would say just trees. I wouldn't
Okay,
denigrate the trees and they're not bushes.
so get rid of scrub.
So 3 trees.
Oh, you want 3.
Yes, I want. One ad that I had for the group to think about, with these actions, the parking area work will be focused on the north end of the current parking area, with stone dust to be placed just north and south of the driveway for the barns at 97 Ash Street. Do we want to be that specific?
Need to be.
The only reason I mean, I don't think we need to be generally, but because we've already met with these neighbors, there's already a high level of concern that they're going to be getting this. Does it make sense to say, hey,
We heard you.
we're putting it north of the driveway? So that particular comment is specific to these neighbors.
In that case.
I would keep it in, because I think people are gonna ask the question, and it's not.
Do you want me to type it now or do you want to email it to me? Can you just read it again?
Or I can just give you this.
But, okay, I just, okay, I didn't quite understand.
All right.
it before.
I'll read it to you. With these actions,
Mhm.
the parking area will be focused on the north end of the current parking area, with stone dust to be placed just north and south of the driveway for the barns at 97 Ash Street.
Okay, it feels a little redundant with what we have already, but I don't care if you want to add it. The only part that feels new is the barns, because we did say it was moving to the north. We do.
North of the driveway.
Yeah, this says north of the driveway, which we didn't mention previously,
Should I
That's
just,
different.
and that's a big difference too.
so I'll add it, so how about if I just say move slightly north of the driveway?
No, because the thing is, if you have the driveway, there's a spot north of the driveway and there's 2 spots south of the driveway. There's 2 spots south of the driveway are being more north now. They're going to go north because of the 3 trees.
You're really taking the 2 spots and moving one of them further north on that side of the driveway and then adding the other one in.
Yeah, on the north side.
Yeah,
Oh, so the spots are now going to straddle the driveway,
correct,
and they weren't before.
correct.
Oh, I totally didn't get that from what I read here or what you said, so we need to clarify that.
That's not in the picture either.
Right.
Okay, so. Okay, we have to work out the wording of that thing, so I didn't get that from what you read aloud to me. With these changes.
With these changes, the parking area work will be focused on the north end of the current parking area. That's too much.
Yeah, because we did, so I think the part that I just heard that we didn't say was that there's now going to be one north of the drive, one south. Two south of the drive. Do we want to say that? There will be
I recommend that Peter take another stab at this.
a section.
No, instead of trying to wordsmith it right now.
Right, in that section, you wanted to take a
Okay.
stab at.
So would you guys be comfortable with Lynn and I between us?
Yes.
Nothing. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Next paragraph, folks. We're telling them it's a safety improvement. Is that gonna get pushback? I mean, I think it is, but
No, I think we have to stick with it before we're doing it.
I just changed, in general, we shouldn't use Roman numerals because not everybody knows what they are anymore. Things like 1, 2, and 3 are even in C level.
The only thing is, I'm not sure we can assume people will appreciate anything.
They're certainly involved.
So visitors will appreciate it. I'm a visitor. I hate having to walk along the road to get there and I
But
won't,
Linda will appreciate this.
yeah, and I'm a visitor. And the people I've gone with do too. I don't really like to park on a walks away and walk along the narrow. You could say it is expected if you want.
I just,
I mean, that's what we're doing. And if you don't believe that, then
well, no, I think it's the right thing to do, and I think people will use it. I just don't like to say visitors will also appreciate it, you know. Big assumptions, like.
can benefit from, how's that?
That be aware of.
I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I think it would benefits, the same living too.
Yeah, I like the, will benefit from the enhanced parking.
Yeah.
How's that? Okay. Okay. Then we were gonna put in a rough. I don't know when this is.
Do we know? Is it summer, fall?
This year, maybe.
yeah, definitely this year. You know, the,
Complete it by this year? Because we could just say that we expect making the improvements to be completed before winter 2025. That's what it is.
Pardon.
this summer and fall.
Keep it 6 months.
Within the next 6 months. Yeah,
That might be 8. I think, Linda, before the end of the year.
Well, it already says expected completion before the end of the year because that was in the original document. I
Let's stick
think.
with that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, do we need to be more specific or is that?
No, that's fine.
I think it's fine. The work is not expected to impact neighbors. Are we asking for trouble on that one?
The work itself, not the results, but the work, are they gonna be,
Yeah, why
Yeah,
would you say that? Because you might get a dump truck in the middle of the road and
Right.
for 3 minutes and somebody's gonna say,
Yeah,
just don't mention it.
could we say, well, again, this is a question I would be asking. Am I gonna be able to not park on my street for a month? When you do this, you know, those are the kinds of things I wanna know.
Come to the meeting.
Yeah, and I do think that again, that falls in that category. If you want to be able, people are gonna
If
come
you're
up with
that
all sorts of
Yeah,
what ifs.
But I guess if we knew that there was gonna be a big impact, wouldn't we wanna let?
yeah, but in this
Yeah, this is
particular
not gonna be
case,
a big.
it's not.
Again, it can be done as a more declarative sentence.
I think if we do run into a project and we do know positively that it's going to have some
Significant impacts, yeah, that you,
mention that, but this is, so why even mention it?
Because without it, I wonder. I mean, I just would rather know.
The actual work is expected to
Have little impact.
be of short duration and
Yeah, something like
minimal
that would be
impact.
better.
minimal.
Minimal inconvenience. Yeah. It's not a big project, especially
Right.
this one. And I think with project to project, we can certainly change up the language
Mhm.
as necessary.
Why don't you, can't you just leave out the names, just.
Yeah, I would leave the neighbors out.
Okay.
Yep.
Next.
Dawn, have you heard anything from the 101 Ash Street neighbors?
I've not heard anything on that street.
Okay. At Elaine's suggestion, Sean is the contact person for them because they do not like me.
Oh,
They don't like with good reason.
jeez.
I told them they're in good company, but
You may put an impression then on them.
apparently, yeah, but, yeah, I mean, that's fine.
It's to be expected. You can't.
In 2020 hindsight, I pointed out where their lot lines were, and I think
It was stuff.
they
we didn't
probably
like.
had no idea. That people are not everybody is a nerd like me who spends their time like going through deeds and checking that stuff out. They probably hadn't. They knew they had 2 acres. They didn't know where it was, and having it pointed out to them would be problematic. It would be to anybody, you know?
Well, I for one am sorry you had to face that. That was not deserved.
It's
It goes
It's-
with the territory.
with trails,
unfortunately.
it's the issue, and fair enough.
You're jaded.
No, I mean, people don't like change, and this could be perceived as a big change, and so that's fair. And I should have been more sensitive to it, and, you know, 2020 hindsight, is one more thing I've learned through this process. At least I didn't have the feeling like I had at Daniel Road where if there were tars and feathers, like they would have happily put me on top of a rail and set me out of there. So this was much better.
At least it's not your own committee fighting you like some people have faced.
All righty.
So are we good with this, other than that one clarification we're gonna be making?
Timing on this. When do we want to have this meeting? That's what I actually, in my last correspondence with the homeowners, I said, did they want a after work meeting or a weekend? I thought the evenings were fine.
I would say just within the next couple of weeks. Let's
Right.
get this off
And I think do it during the week.
And can we do it at the town hall or the library?
No, we do it
It's
on
on
site.
site.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that way people can point,
Yep.
you know, here's what we're
Well,
doing.
let's just call it and go for it.
Daylight.
We picking a date?
Yep.
And it's gotta be daylight.
Right, so before 8:30.
Wow, I'm looking outside. I'm like, yeah, I would recommend 6. but-
6 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah, 6, I think, works for most folks.
What the,
Calendars, folks? What day of the week? Any suggestions?
Well, we meet on Wednesdays, so maybe an off
Just say-
meeting night.
For, I think 6:30 or 7 is better than 6 personally. because working early on.
Yeah, if you have any kind of commute, you're not home by 6.
6:30?
6:30, do we want to have it as a posted meeting for us?
Yes. And that way people might see it, they might not, but it's better to be safe.
Okay, what's one more?
We don't
And if
need
it's on,
quorum,
if it's a site walk,
posted meeting?
Huh?
Do we need quorum if it's a
No.
posted meeting?
Just
So
if we
it's
get, if we
considered-
get a
We
quorum,
just
it
have to
becomes an
post it. If it becomes a quorum, then it becomes, if we don't want to take minutes, we don't make any decisions. You know, the spiel,
Right.
you know, this is just an informational meeting only and we're not gonna.
Yes,
But is
no,
it-
true,
is
we don't want to
it really-
overwhelm the people, like. we don't want eight
No,
committee-
it takes 30 seconds, you know.
No, we don't want 8 committee members there for 2 neighbors. They're gonna feel overwhelmed.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I see.
And I'm trying to think, so Chuck and I did it for the
People are gonna show.
The most recent example I'm thinking of is the trail from Field 13 over to Chamberlain Street Extension, where we made some fairly substantial infield decisions with the neighbors there. You know, kind of like, okay, if we move it here, is that,
Yeah,
you
but
guys
you're,
good with
it's
that?
talking about information and information gathering is not the same thing as making a decision and voting on something and say, yes, we
Yeah.
are definitely gonna do that.
Or you would
I
bring it
figure,
back
We
in.
bring it back, okay.
if that, you know, that's kind of what we would do and we would always show. I always had the feeling, or most often, that people weren't overwhelmed, that they were happy to see that other people were
There.
and interested. I'm not sure what your experience was, but that was all my experience. That generally, people really welcomed the
Okay.
fact that we were cared enough.
So are we picking a date then?
Within the 2 weeks, well, it could be next Wednesday, or weekends aren't good for me. It could be any day of the week.
Right. When,
We're in for a heat wave. I don't know if that can, if anybody cares.
I've got a show I watch on Mondays, but Tuesday, 6:30, not this coming Tuesday, but which is 24th, but
July 1st.
July 1st.
That's the week from Tuesday.
That's
Okay.
Tuesday, July 1st, okay.
And that will be at 99
Yeah.
Street.
Is there enough parking for all of us?
There is.
Park on Blueberry. Park on Blueberry and walk up.
Dang,
we
be
have a-
careful you don't get killed by a car.
Yeah, that's a,
For heaven's sakes, don't do what was it, Parker did, one of the planning board members who parked on the other side of the street impeding traffic.
oh,
It's like, yeah, that's showing where the problems are. If you park there,
What time was that?
6:30.
yeah.
First.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so with the exception of that one little part, this is good to go after we accept all those changes. And
Okay, so with that, look for a motion to accept it as changed, recognizing and with the change that Linda and I will make to that final sentence. So moved. Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
I,
can you just say again who moved and seconded? I'm sorry.
I moved Branshaw.
All righty. Lola.
And how are these notices being distributed?
So for Ash Street, that's just gonna go to this, I've got the butters list and send it to the same 6 people.
Across the street and on the same side of the street? Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, Colella's gonna be a little more interesting.
Can I just record what you just said? I'm sorry, can you just say who you're sending it to?
For Ash Street, the notices will go out to the same 6 butters who received the scenic road notification.
And by postal that,
Right. And I would
what's
not,
that called? Is that kind of mail? Is it just postal mail or it's got?
just regular mail, yeah,
Okay, it doesn't have any stamp.
it doesn't have to be,
Yeah,
Certified.
doesn't have to be certified or we're not
Got it.
no,
certificates, mailing or. anything
15
like
bucks a bat, no, we're all set.
The mailing,
That would be a legal thing and we don't need a signature that they received.
Made a note to myself earlier,
Which one is this, Linda? No.
Colella.
This is 8:30. It must be the bottom. Huh? So this. Sean originally wrote, I sent feedback to Sean. But Peter separately updated it, so we're just gonna work with
Oh.
Peter's.
Okay.
And because the minute said, send your feedback to Sean, but you just completely redid it yourself, which is fine. Just like Jane was just gonna go talk to the neighbors, but then she ends up writing the whole thing. So in any case, Sean and I will talk with them.
I didn't want to go out without anything in hand.
Okay, can everyone see? Is that big enough?
Mhm.
Is Jack coming? Oh, yeah, he's coming back. Okay. Dear neighbor and interested party. All right, read the first paragraph while I make these standard changes.
Could take up other.
That's already done. So enhancing use of trails, so and trail networks comes out.
How about getting rid of use of what's so consistent with the other ones? Okay.
Yep.
And once we have the template and use it, then we don't have to make these decisions all the time. Okay. My comment is, what is U 2440? Is that a page in recording
That's the property number.
in what?
Oh, that's in GIS.
That parcel number, I think it's
Parcel number. Thank you.
it's straight parcel number.
I would say the town's parcel number, right?
Yeah.
And we're just constructing one trail, not multiple trails. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments on that first paragraph? Scrolling right along. Second paragraph.
I think it's focused on the former Colilla land is redundant. He just said he purchased the former Colilla land.
The project involves a new trail running.
I think when you say the scope of work is to fully define and construct. Some of it's redundant, some of it's just overly worded.
Hmm.
Because you're already saying the project involves a trail running the length of the property.
Which we also said in the previous paragraph too, didn't
So just to construct.
Just say that the trail will
trail will run
run through the Hughes Farm Trail north to the cattle run or.
Okay.
starting at the beginning of the paragraph or?
No, the second sentence, starting at the second sentence, say the trail will run from,
The pedestrian trail?
yeah, okay.
We don't want those bikers on it.
Bikers can go on it, can't they?
Yeah.
But at this point, it's not a wide trail.
Okay.
Those e-bike kids would rather stay on the sidewalk of the road.
Okay, is that good for you, David?
Yeah.
Anything else on that paragraph? As we move down?
With the rest. With the next one, I was trying to get into the idea that we've already done a bunch of work, so
Already happening.
we could have started this with, oops.
No, no,
No.
no, you want to sell it, like,
Not to mention the fact that, you know, the work that's been, because I've been thinking about this,
Mhm.
right? And you can't really check it out. Like, you couldn't have checked it out.
Right, right.
You know, there's no way. They're like, oh, you want me to walk through all this poison ivy and thorns to tell you if it's a good idea?
Yeah, where are you going with it?
No.
Yeah.
So I think, and it's
so
not,
we can add that to determine it at the end of the word cattle run.
less is more. I'm always like, right now, I'm thinking it's just too long, personally, but out of the gate, just as an overall statement. And it's just like,
I picked this up and go,
It's only like a page.
I know, but
yeah, but you got 5 paragraphs.
So I,
the ones I had before were half a page with a picture on the bottom. And I think
I
we
think
agreed
that's
that's a
a good-
little too short.
I mean, we can
Fine.
tighten this wording offline if you want. I just,
I would recommend it.
okay. I just mainly don't try to adjust too much unless it's like unclear or whatever personally, but we can do that offline.
well, I agree with Sean. If
5
this
minutes,
is more.
5 minutes.
You're right.
at
You're not
most.
gonna-
Okay, well, this is yours, so why don't you? I
Well, I was,
stuck mine. Yeah, no, I stuck mine in there, so you can go back and,
oh, I see.
Take it out.
yeah.
I'll tell you what, how
You
soon
have-
does this need to be done? I can tighten it up in 5 minutes. I can do that really fast.
Well, then use the template, right?
Well, I don't want to do it.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
just-
this is a little different than the template because we already have
Yeah,
done some
because
work on it.
it's a visual.
Why don't you take it? Cut it in half and then we'll call it.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
sure. And I'll use the new picture.
Good.
Linda
All right.
wanted a new picture, so
Okay.
she got it.
Right.
Okay, so any key issues that
Other than word.
you want to make sure stay in here?
The key issue I have is the date.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead, but
That's okay. So nothing in that paragraph. Our committees.
Do-
consider-
Do we want to talk about the future Stone Dust Trail?
I would say
No.
no.
Okay.
I was gonna scratch that.
Where is that? I'm sorry.
Above, it's up above.
Okay. So
Currently.
what
Okay,
we were gonna do is Stone Dust Trail.
we are, but for purpose of this
I
and for brevity, Sean suggested,
The brevity,
Okay,
Sean's gonna have the pass at it, so,
I'm looking at this with 4 corners.
good, good.
all right, so we get
All
rid
right.
of this too.
And what's your timing issue?
We don't have one.
He wants a date. Is it gonna be, it looks like now it's gonna be July.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Second week in July. You already got the first on Ash Street.
July 7th, 8th.
8th is Tuesday. So a week from Ash. Same time, 6:30?
Yeah.
192?
Yeah.
In the room.
So what did you say, July what?
8th.
The same as the other one, we'll post it and
Yeah.
So this would be in a used parking lot?
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
Exactly.
plenty of parking there.
So we want to, obviously not everyone has to go, but somebody has to go. So how do we want to communicate to make sure we have that covered?
so let's do the other one first.
So for Ash Street, I mean, I'm definitely planning on being there.
I think I should be from the contact for the liaison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Peter doesn't get charred and feathered.
The side, yeah.
I can attend if,
Yeah, I mean,
oh, Tuesday, July 1st. Yeah, I can attend if wanted.
Because it really be this, the butters of 101. His wife from 97.
Right.
Okay,
On opposite sides of the,
I can show, they want to see
There-
a different face.
There was another woman who was a future member of the planning board.
right, she walked up.
She walked up, and she lived down
Right.
on Ash or somewhere then.
I know,
She was a member in waiting, right? Or something.
yeah,
Yes,
she just,
She's got like.
she got, yeah, she just got.
Yeah.
I think she might be all open space. Place.
So amazing.
yeah, I think you're right. I think I saw that.
She's interested in trails. So that she might show up.
Mhm.
okay, so Peter and Sean for sure, and Linda or Jane.
Yep.
Okay. Then the Palella one is, I'm sorry, Tuesday, July 8th, right?
Yep.
6:30. 192. And who's gonna go to that one?
I mean, do you have to sign up? I mean, I think both in my calendar, so it's highly likely.
Well, Peter's saying we need to know at least one person.
We need to know today, is sort of my
Oh,
question. How do we communicate?
I think it would be a good idea to have a couple people.
yeah, let's commit at least one today or two.
Yeah, I can go.
Okay,
Oh, I should go.
You should go if you can.
so that's two, and then everyone else can go if they want to. If they have availability.
Did people let Sean and David know if they're coming or if it show up?
So what would be the object of this, just show where the outline is? And to let them know.
I would personally, I wouldn't, you know, I personally would recommend we stay in the parking lot, describe the project, answer any questions that they have, and say, "Want to go check it out?" That's where you go.
Good luck.
You know, it
I
just,
I haven't been up there in so long. I just know that it was
Right.
impassable the last couple of times.
but it's not impassable. That's the point.
The idea of this
It's a
whole
fun-
thing is to allay fears that people may have,
Yeah.
so. And you'll get those questions right off.
Yeah.
You know, is this gonna be a paved driveway coming through, you know?
What should be said if someone asks if it's gonna be stone dust? Some,
So that's something we're thinking about but it's a long-term.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
To be
And
determined.
if
to
people
know.
wanna walk it that night, how long would it take to walk it?
Half hour at most.
Yeah.
Okay. They said you're open to it if they want to.
It's not a big.
Oh, they did go, yeah, today.
Yeah.
It's flagged right from the parking lot now, because when I did the trail maintenance a few weeks ago, you have to sort of know where to get onto it.
Chuck reflagged it. I haven't been back since, but I was gonna check it out this weekend.
They
Okay.
wanted to walk it that night with you guys there, though, would you be open to that?
Oh, yeah, I want.
So. What do we want to do, as far as approving this? I'm fine with Sean,
Chuck, you're just deaf.
cutting this in half. Getting it together.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. Gab at it.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to. So what we'll do is. Sean will take another shot at it. Send it to me, I'll distribute to the group, and then any comments that folks have. Send to Linda to incorporate or not incorporate as she sees fit.
I can reach back to Sean if I need.
Yeah, so that you make a
Correct.
couple of.
That's nice. Okay. So that's the motion I'm looking for. Oh, second.
And when does this need to go out by?
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm
Ideally.
for staying tomorrow. So it's worth it.
Okay, no,
I'll go with it
it
too.
can come through me then. Do it through me. I will,
Okay.
I will take any,
Sean, okay,
and I'll work with John to finalize.
thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, so I'm amending that motion to, the comments to come through me, I'll work with John, and the final will go out.
Send it out. You put a note on it, comments by, so.
Okay. All righty. Motion
Wow.
made, adjusted on the fly and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Who motion seconded?
Jack did, Brian second.
Brand seconded, sorry. Okay, so we're down to about 10 minutes. Thought we were so far in the schedule, and then we got behind. But anyway, I would like to table the East Main Street for now. And move on and finally talk about Legacy North Trails.
Oh,
We're gonna do,
Is it the money though, by the end of this month?
like,
To get,
the money's all
think we
set.
already-
We need, yeah,
yeah, up to 25,000. Doesn't mean we're gonna spend that much,
Right.
but
yeah,
if you can get it for 10, whatever, but
right.
Are we okay with the some people?
yeah. it's
We're,
like-
we're getting some final, there's still some final sign off. Dane got me a contact for the, Algonquin pipeline. So even though the easement is pretty clear that we can do what we
Yeah, we
want,
can do what we want.
they're whining about it, so,
Well, now we have a name to say, yeah,
yeah, so I sent her.
Yeah.
Chunk of my afternoon sending the pictures and the stuff, so hopefully they'll be fine with our inputs there.
So 26/2, we expect we will get final
I think
sign
we'll
off
be fine.
on summer.
Yes,
And the Algonquin pipeline people we're working with, but we think we're fine.
they don't like you going parallel down their easement,
but it's a
but I think we're. Going.
they're not going, they don't want you on top of it.
For a long,
Yeah.
And what we're doing,
Yeah, it's not gonna be bad, no.
If not, get in contact with me.
so anyway, what are the thoughts that folks have from our long ago sidewalk?
I thought it was
Key
interesting. Yeah, I can just jump in. I mean, I was glad that everyone got the opportunity to see the original plan, because I don't know if folks had actually paid attention to it way back when. But that was the original site that we walked, and that was composed because of all of the property owners that agreed, because we went back and forth for at least a year with Legacy Farms, Heritage Group, the Morgan, Kinder Morgan with gas company, and so it was a group effort to come up with this path. So, and when we took it, there were a lot of comments about, well, maybe we could go here, maybe we can go there. And my suggestion was at the time, well, let's reach out to the property owners and see if they are at least willing to entertain that conversation. The primary property owner is still Roy McDowell. And I reached out to him and he said, he didn't say yes, he didn't say no. He said, send me a map of what the proposed trail might look like, where you would like it to go, and what currently exists. So he can do a side-by-side comparison and then advise the committee if this is possible or if it's not possible, or maybe there's a workaround.
Mhm.
So there were
What's his name again?
Roy McDowell, MAC,
Thanks, I got it.
Yeah.
yeah.
WELL.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess then, where do we go from here? Do we walk it again and find out where we want to go? Do we have enough information where we can work with GIS and come up and draw some lines on a map?
Is this for the southern part by Main Street or the northern part?
More than.
Go to Hopkinton.
Well, it's, yeah,
It would be,
there's a couple
Oh.
of these, there's, yeah, starting from East Main and going all the way over
yeah,
to, the state park.
Mhm.
And when, if you recall, when we were down in the state park, there's a couple of options
Yeah,
there that we want to get mapped out.
right. I thought the southern part though, from Main Street to our parking area was pretty defined. I didn't think there were a lot of choices on that one.
Yeah, there's,
The-
there's the lower piece, and again, even there, like where the pond was, there's trails that, old farm roads in there that could be mapped. Then there's one route basically to go up the hill to get to the north, which again has multiple routes.
Correct.
And then there's just a couple that get you all the way over to the, and for me, the interesting parts in the short term, I think, are actually all those farm roads and the kind of neat areas in there. And I do think like next step is to, you know, we've got the 48,000, let's get that mapped out.
Yeah,
And what I'm looking for is see if somebody wants to jump in and put an RFP together to do that.
Can you just say, when you say get that mapped out, what's that?
Get that entire area that we walked and the other options that we didn't walk, all the old farm roads that are on the part by the Legacy North Road, the old farm roads that are down by the Marathon International Youth Center area, the connections, and then the two trails, the one we walked down to get to the park and then back up and get that all mapped for us.
Okay, and when you say maps, can you just explain what you mean by that? I don't mean to be ignorant, but I honestly don't really know what you mean.
A map on a Google, combination of Google Earth, GIS.
like a line.
Right now, they're not on OpenStreetMaps, and having them put on OpenStreetMap would be good.
Okay.
But there are engineering firms who can do that stuff for us probably pretty quickly and pretty easily.
I think that would be my suggestion is we use someone like that
Yeah.
that can for a cost that would be able to identify using the terrain and
Mhm.
That's
geography
what I was
and
gonna ask. So it would
the
have.
grades. Yeah,
Right, well, the requirements per the,
the state grant
per the
and
not per the CPA funding.
Yep.
The language is in there, so that would be part of the
Okay.
request for proposal. I put a request for proposal together for, hold on just a sec, for the work that the Chamberlain, the Loop Road to Chamberlain Trail. And I worked with procurement to put that together. It's, the bid is separate from the proposal you get from them, you know, you go through the whole process. So it's a pretty good template for doing this. So it's not, nobody be fresh doing it.
so that 44, that number came from, it didn't come from Beals and Thomas.
Now it came from VHB.
It came from VHB, and that was based on what you're asking about. Would it make sense to reach out to Beals and Thomas and say, can you do this for us for something similar?
They're right. Well,
I
we
mean,
we don't.
seem to think that we could do it for less, but I don't know.
I think Beals and Thomas, and then there's another small firm also in Southborough whose name is escaping now. The people that we looked at when we did this, so we sent the RFP out to two firms
Right,
Chuck's on if he would. remember.
so,
and
and it could be, so maybe if we just jump to that topic, we might save us some time, because I don't think any of us on this committee are qualified to do that depth of the work that is required to
To do an art.
qualify. Well, no, to do, map it
Yeah.
out.
yeah, no, that's what we wanted. We
And
want
it's-
to hire them.
but
So
we
that's,
want to do it in a professional manner so
Yeah.
that going down the road, when we do apply for federal grants or state grants, or however we want to break it up, we have to make sure that we have
Mr.
have
Paul
reached
Jane, I
all
don't
of
think
the
anyone
qualifications.
I don't think anyone's questioning that. I think,
No, I'm not questioning it either. Well, I'm
Oh.
just trying to explain
oh, okay.
that this is how we developed the work that we did. There was a reason for that.
Mhm. Okay, and I think we all agree we need it, right?
Yeah, we do.
yeah, and we've got the money, that's what the
have the
money is there
money.
for. So the question is, does anyone have the time to help put the RFP together? And if you're
I do if I.
you're at least interested in it, or I can send the group the old RFP, and you can sort of see what level of,
That would be
entailed.
helpful, Peter, yeah, just.
so I'll send that out to everybody, just sort of what I put together for the Chamberlain one.
Just, there's,
The other thing that, if I could just throw this in, when we got to this point, when we got to a point where we were just coming in, probably doesn't reflect on your work, but we used the town resources as it says in our, our charge that we should. We used the DPW and we reached out to Dave Del Torrio and he did that level of work,
Yeah,
What level of work?
did the RFP.
yeah, he can help with that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Jack,
what do you think the time frame is on doing the parking lot? Well,
I would like to see it done this summer, certainly.
oh, okay,
end
so
of the
then,
year.
if that's the case, what I was saying is these maps being done, the two should be married together.
Yeah.
When the parking lot's done, we should be able to hand people a map.
I think it's two different,
Yeah.
No,
Huh?
it's very, very different.
But I don't.
Okay.
I think they're absolutely
that-
tied. You have to have a map, you put the parking lot in, people go, where do we
Where
go?
do I go?
You have to have something, because there's no open street map even up there.
Now,
I don't see it as together. We ran out of it.
Right.
So what we're talking about, this trail is the multi-use trail to connect Main Street to the Hopkinton State.
Hmm.
The trails that are gonna be used, the parking lot in the short term, put
Are-
emphasis on the word short term, aren't mapped. People can go and use it. We haven't even defined all the personal versus private versus public property. And that's concerns the heck out of me by sending out, we like, oh, Trails Committee likes these trails, right? If it's on somebody's backyard,
No, it's not.
Well,
So it's public, it's all publicly available land.
And you would also,
No,
And so you, and
not
you
of the
do,
sections of the gas line that
I
we
think we
blocked.
need to continue the conversation.
I'm just apprehensive about trying to connect everything together until that's all, because it's not clear to me.
Mhm.
And as much as I want to believe you, Peter, I do, right? But I was just like, okay, well, you told me there's 6 different owners when we did that walk.
Right. Could I also make a suggestion that maybe we have, wouldn't cost anything, Dave Del Torrio come to a meeting and explain to everybody exactly what we need to do when preparing something like this and who we need to talk to and what's involved.
I personally,
And
The
he
idea
can
of
do it in
specialists-
15 minutes.
the idea of specialists, I kind of would rather if some people focus on this and not everyone. And Dave could talk to those people. Like, I really want to work on website and outreach stuff. And, I don't mind offering opinions on things, but I don't think all 9 of us. on
And
the
that
committee
was
have to
what
be experts
hopefully
on
to
everything.
get to with the next piece, so.
Yeah, and not that I don't want to hear what Dave has to say, but I think.
No, well, I was talking segment 1 and hoping to help with clarification so the members understand where we're going, what we have to do, and
I thought you meant the RFP. So
well, no, but that would tie into it. And I think it would help clarification on what in our favor be involved.
Yeah,
It's
but
overwhelming.
yeah,
I think-
there are,
and to your-
Jane, for a second, I think Jack has a good point. We do need to have a map. There is no map of that area. We do need to have a
Yeah,
map.
no,
To Sean's point, it needs to be public
there
accessible.
are conflicts on private property. We have to
Absolutely.
know those because the worst thing we can do is put a frigging parking lot in and find out that there's no way for people to go except walk. So the two would have to be sort of
Right.
fit together.
I'm not advocating map out all the way to the state park. but only-
Right.
No,
Then-
just do the blog spot. You
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
People have a place to go.
Right, but I didn't want to confuse that message with saying, okay, we want to have.
We're talking different things.
I think.
No, I think those are two
Yeah.
bullet items that go into the RFP. We want one map that kind of maps out all the public accessible lands, and then we're also looking for options to get all the way over to the state park.
Yeah, and I
it
think,
could be, we could ask it to be delivered in 2 phases, so we can get started.
Absolutely.
and I don't think there's any harm in at least thinking about asking a consultant. If it's not Dave Del Torrio, maybe someone from Beals and
Mhm.
Thomas or VHB to come to one of our meetings.
I personally think that the lower half parking lot trails we don't need to put in the RFP.
No, I don't think so either. That wasn't
It's-
what I was
All
talking
right, I
about.
thought you were the one concerned about that there are 6 different landowners in that.
No, he was talking about segment one.
Right, exactly.
Oh.
The trail from the parking lot,
Yeah.
the parking lot to the state park,
Uh-huh.
Right?
That's segment one.
that is a long section, right?
Right, right.
And I'm not advocating that get mapped for purposes of people using the parking lot in these small, short-term interim.
Okay.
Jack's point, my understanding, what Jack said is, listen, you're gonna tell people to park here to go on trails, where the hell should they go? They shouldn't be going to the state park, or we should not be advocating
You
if they
tell them
do.
they can, someplace they can go.
Correct.
Okay.
And those, like those trails that we kind of flexed around with the, like, the little
Yeah.
ponds, up almost to the berm.
So we should have those trails mapped.
But I don't think we need an RFP for that.
No, we're talking two different things.
Right, but we just combined them, okay?
Why
And
do we need an RFP to do that mapping? We're not gonna do that mapping.
No.
We can't do that mapping.
We just did Colella.
This is
You
more
didn't
expensive.
create a map, did you?
I just gave you a map.
What we
You know.
need for segment one is something like this, and that's further down the road.
Right, this is an RFP goes to, and that's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I think mapping out
Okay.
foot trails for purposes of
Yeah,
parking lot,
that's something different.
you know.
Use at your own risk.
I think John did the one at Hughes Farm. Right, if you literally want to create a map.
Chuck.
Always a Chuck.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah,
John
Chuck
that said.
Chuck can definitely put them together. He's done a bunch, but I'm trying to
Not relying
not
on.
rely on. Oh, sorry.
Well, we could start spreading the law. Regardless, my recommendation is you keep that part out of the RFP. Because especially if we don't get the RFP done until like December,
And very good possibility,
right?
unless we want to apply for some.
And we want to have the parking lot there.
Yeah,
at the end.
RFP could be.
Well, I'm just saying that, you know, we've been trying to talk about this for 4 months,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
We want to get a parking lot done. We want people to use the trails.
But I guess I would say that the trails that I recall anyway from that day are fairly extensive. Even on the part we want to use, the blower part, they're fairly extensive and it would probably be worth that if we could put some money in to have someone do the map. Seems, I think it's a lot more,
2 different RFPs, one to do a little map that's.
there's a lot of trail in there, because
We could do that out of the current budget. Easily could do that.
I just think if then it gets done.
There's merit to that.
Well,
I just didn't want to tie together with-
Position of the parking lot's ready to be done, and then I say, wait.
Where am I going?
Yeah.
Where am I going? I totally appreciate that.
Yeah.
And getting it done right, I see the value. I don't see the value of combining the two together.
I don't care about that, it doesn't make it, but I just think
Mhm.
we need a credible map that shows people when we put a parking lot in, if we spent their money and they get this, and I think also it's really good for this committee to put those two things together.
Oh, I definitely.
And I agree with you. I think it's very different from the segment one
Yeah.
conversation. That's all I'm suggesting.
So maybe 2 different RFPs.
I don't even think we need an RFP for the map. Take a
Well,
bit.
that's.
Just the final answer.
Do we
No,
just,
I
do we
don't
just,
think so.
Just knock it out.
Yeah, just knock it out. We have current maps.
You told me,
But
Peter.
those
We don't
trails
have to state procurement into 10K.
those trails aren't on any map. That's the.
well, with engineering, you don't have to go through.
They're not in Google.
Period.
Oh.
There's no limit on value. So the question I have for you is, should I just reach out to Beals and Thomas and say, here's this area? I can show them the Google Maps and say,
Can you?
what
do
does it
something
cost
Yes.
to do that, to put that on a map for us?
For walking trails.
For walking trails?
Temporary
Yes, but there's no,
Lower area only.
no, lower and upper,
To get to Hopkinton.
with the connector in between, so just for that. Only as far as Legacy North Road. So only
Yeah.
those lands that are Roy McDowell
Yeah,
to be given to the town, or that are already to the benefit of the town. And then the International Marathon area and the connection between the two, so that, only that public space. What will that cost? And then at our next meeting, we can make a decision if the number's good.
I think that would work.
Good idea, Peter.
Okay.
I think that would work.
Because I think we want to get that.
Oh, I totally
The
agree.
old map For Legacy Farms, that Roy has already approved, which is generally the way we walked. If
Yeah.
they could incorporate that existing map.
Yep, they could probably do that pretty,
Yeah,
so. I mean, they'll have
I don't
somebody go
think
out to
that's gonna
GPS and
yeah, I don't think that's gonna cost
put it on top of
much.
Google Earth and boom, there we have it for our needs.
Didn't we gotta meet in 2 weeks?
Yeah, we should.
Well, we have 2 site visits.
We have a day.
No, I would say we go, we're in the
Site
summer,
visits?
just do monthly and then.
Okay.
So what that does, we do not have meetings set up for the coming.
But, okay, so what we want to think about also is applications for Mass Trails opens in October. Is there anything, because we should be working through the summer to come up with something if we want to apply for any funding for that.
That would be maybe a good one actually for the bridges. Yeah, it's another way to go.
And so then that would
DCR money for DCR project. They
correct.
might
We
be-
would get
I
that.
mean,
But
we have to do, it'd have to be a combo. That would actually be a really nice. combo.
Right, because you
Yeah.
can show connection, they,
I
and
still think, just gonna offer this, I'm not sure it's true, but I'll offer it. I think you're better off to get it done if you come in with some town money as a partnership.
Well, no, we'll do 50-50. So you have to do
Yeah.
20, you have to do 20-80.
so there
The
is.
more you do, the better, the more you match it. So,
So there is town money.
There you go.
yeah.
Yes. And so that would incorporate at least one meeting dedicated to,
So why don't we just focus on the bridges, which Peter and Jack are gonna meet with Elaine. Figure out what's, how much would the town be interested in doing it? And then we can start formalizing
CPC
a project.
application. Oh, yeah, so CPC application and Mass Trails grant
Yeah.
application. That's a lot of work.
In August, there's the trail system, which
Yeah.
26.2 mentioned. That's another source of funds. It's a private source of
What's
funds.
it called?
2 for the trails. We got money. It's Athletic Brewing Company
Oh,
puts out 2 million a year for trail projects.
So
Okay,
When are we meeting in July?
July, August and September. Let's pick
I
those.
think, so.
Oh, I thought we were on a cadence,
I did too, third.
third Thursday, third Wednesday.
Third Wednesday, yeah.
16.
Okay.
it's gonna leave them with a lot of work in between.
Well, we can add money, but I think we're putting a lot of
Okay.
meetings. Yeah.
All right.
And that's, I mean, what I was hoping to do with this is to be able to dump stuff to folks so
Yeah.
that folks are doing stuff in between. Yeah.
Not enough, but we're getting there.
So, and I'll send out the RFP and people can take a look at that. And I think for Beals and Thomas, for the first one, we just won't even do a RFP. We'll just
No, I don't think so.
go to them.
I don't think it's gonna be big money. Is there anything you need to do with this tonight?
Nope, that's got to go back to Chuck because they need to have 2 at the.
So we're, let's do one thing at a time here. How about that?
Okay, third,
The 20th. Is that the 20th?
20th, yeah,
okay, and then September.
at 17th.
Did we do July? What was
Yeah,
July?
16.
16th.
I got July 16th,
Yeah,
August 20th,
right, okay.
September 17th.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I would really like to talk
Mhm.
about a little bit of website stuff, if possible, at the next meeting, so I can work on that on the side. Because I just need some decisions and things to go through that might take 15 minutes here.
Okay.
And we can give an update on signs. We're meeting with Carrie on those
Yeah.
DPW on signs, so give an update on those.
Well, we got a lot of work to do.
That's good, we're getting traction,
Mhm.
this is good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work, Shane, I don't disagree with you, it
Yeah.
is. But what are we I'll move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second,
Nice.
all in favor? Aye.
What are we gonna do about Fran?
He's got a replacement,
Oh, you do? Excellent.
Yeah, got one guy who did.
What is it?
I've been in Cambridge.
Andrew from the Trails Club.
Thanks, okay.
We just
No,
don't-
I get it. You guys are.
we just don't.
Right, hopefully the select board, that's what's July 1st. I knew there was something else.
Select board?
Join select.
Oh, so they're gonna do the
Yes.
appointment then we hope?
Do you think what they are? That's our hope. All righty.
Bye.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So are you coming to the next meeting?
I'll go to the next meeting then.